Hey, welcome back, guys, to another stream of the day. All right, I'll give a minute for everybody to kind of get in here. See what we're doing. Where's my? Oh, there it is. All right. Okay, so today we're going to be covering a murder trial. See how this goes. It is the state of Georgia versus Matthew Lanz. 2021 killings of his neighbors in, I think it's Atlanta, Georgia area, Cobb County. Killed his neighbors. Case has been stalled for years due to his mental competency, and he also has charges related to their toddler. He murdered his neighbors, husband and wife, and they had a toddler, and the toddler was apparently left abandoned in the home for 12 hours, up to 12 hours, just by him or herself, while their parents were dead. So he's got charges related to that as well. So he's charged with malice murder and child abandonment or something, child cruelty. So let's check it out, see what we got.
Good morning, everyone. I am Judge Sonia Brown. I'm the presiding judge for this jury trial calendar for Monday, November 17th at 9 a.m. Position 1, Matthew Scott Lanz. Good morning. Good morning, Judge. Okay, I just need to call. I have a couple things on the calendar, so just want to make sure you all are ready.
We're ready.
Okay, thank you. Position 2, Jamarcus Blackman.
Ready.
Okay. Is Mr. Blackman or Mr. Willingham present?
I don't know Mr. Blackman present. Not say you're going to talk on.
He's here. Can you stand for me, please, Mr. Blackman? Is Mr. Willingham still representing you? You can talk just I'll use your outside voice. You talk a little louder for me so I can hear you. No, I just need to know if Mr. Willingham's your attorney or not. Who's your attorney now? Mr. Patterson, is he on his way? Okay, have a seat for me, okay? Thank you, sir. And position 3, Christopher Gayton was completed by plea.
Yes.
All right, so we'll just wait and see until Mr. Patterson gets here. But I do believe that state and defense are ready to proceed with Mr. Lanz. So if you all, let's check in at a break. And you can talk to Mr. Patterson when he gets here. And we'll see where we are. Thank you. All right. We are ready to proceed forward on the state of Georgia versus Matthew. Of course, if that was Your Honor, communicated to Mr. Lanz for consideration.
Your Honor,
There we go. I thought it was me.
Discussion. Of course, if that was something he was interested in, we would have those conversations, but he would be required to plead the entire meeting.
Hey, welcome in.
Okay, thank you. And periodically we will have sidebars and bench conferences that we need to have conversations outside of the presence of those in the courtroom. Attorney Berry, do you waive Mr. Lanz's presence at those sidebars and bench conferences, and then with stipulation that you will communicate to Mr. Lanz what is discussed during those bench conferences? Okay, thank you. All right, for those who are present in the courtroom, I do want to remind you, one, that there should be no audio and video recordings or pictures taken during the course of these proceedings, unless, of course, you have received consideration and permission from the court, such as the media, to use audio or video recordings or pictures. For those who are on Zoom, I do want to remind you that this still is a court proceeding, and the rules of the court also must be followed for those who are on Zoom. Zoom is a courtesy to those who are viewing, and so you are to also be reminded there should be no audio or video recordings, nor should any pictures be taken during the course of these proceedings. Also want to remind those, unless you are an officer of the court, a staff member of the court, law enforcement, or again, media who has permission, all phones should be turned off. Not on vibrate, off. And the reason I ask that is we want to ensure that there are no interruptions during the course of these proceedings, and the court, as well as the attorneys, are able to hear everything that is being communicated. If you need to take a phone call, if you need to text, I do understand that life does not stop because we are in this courtroom. I do ask that you please step out, take whatever phone calls or text messages that you need to do, and then you can come back in. Also want to remind everybody that while I recognize that this is a very emotional time and this proceedings can cause some emotions to be felt,
Hey guys,
I do
welcome
ask
in.
that
Welcome
you
in.
try to
Thanks for
contain as
joining me
best as you
again.
can while in court. If you get over emotional, that is okay. But I do ask that you please step outside until you're able to compose yourselves and be mindful that there is court going on in other courtrooms on this floor. And so once that is done, you can always, of course, come back in. We're more than happy to have you come back in and rejoin us in the courtroom. All right. Again, we're ready to proceed. There are a few things that you all said that you need to enter on the record, but we do need to have the indictment and have Mr. Lanz enter his plea before we begin and join issue.
That's correct. We do have some stipulations. I think the court wants to read those in the record.
We will. I just want to make sure everything is signed and issue is joined, and we'll proceed with the stipulations in just a moment.
You can tell this is public defense. Look at one file for this huge case. For a murder trial, you got one file on your desk. Tells you everything you need to know about most public defense. And that's across the board. I've had public defenders that were family law attorneys. They weren't even criminal defense attorneys. I've had tax attorneys as my defense attorney. So they're just, these guys just want to get it done and over with and get their $500 that they make for a trial. They got cops all over that courtroom. Tactical gear cops, too.
We are here today to try the case entitled The State of Georgia versus Matthew Scott Lanz, the defendant having freely, voluntarily, and intelligently waived his right to a jury trial and having been advised by his attorney of the rights that he is giving up and the possible consequences, has requested a bench trial in which the court will decide the case and determine the verdict.
So he's having a bench trial. It's up to the judge.
The
You hear the
defendant,
evidence.
Matthew Scott Lanz, has
No
been
jury
indicted by
will
the
be
grand
there.
jury of Cobb County in an indictment that is composed of the following counts. Count 1, malice murder. Count 2, malice murder. Count 3, felony murder. Count 4, felony murder. Count 5, felony murder. Count 6, felony murder. Count 7, home invasion. Count 8, aggravated assault. Count 9, aggravated assault. Count 10, possession of firearm during commission of a felony. Count 11, possession of firearm during the commission of a felony. Count 12, cruelty to children in the second degree. Count 13, tampering with evidence. To this indictment and the counts that I've just read, the defendant has pled not guilty and denies each and every allegation therein. This is what forms the issue that is to be tried. And again, there are stipulations that you all would like to put on the record and any other procedural concerns or issues that the court needs to be made aware of.
Sure, if we can't approach on one matter.
Yes.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Goofy looking.
Before we begin, are there any witnesses who are present in the courtroom? Because I will be invoking the rule of sequestration, and so all witnesses should remain outside of the courtroom, except when you are personally called to testify. And additionally, all witnesses should not discuss the case with any other witnesses or parties until the evidence is concluded, or the witnesses individually have, all of them have been excused from further appearance. You are permitted, however, to discuss your testimony with the attorney in this case. And counsel, I will remind both the state and the defense that you are to instruct your witnesses of the requirements of the rule of sequestration in this case.
Your Honor, we are asking for an exception for the lead detective in this case, Detective Zachary Stan. Can you see that at counsel table?
Great. Any objection? Okay. Detective Stanner, you are able to remain in the courtroom. All right. In stipulations?
So, Your Honor, we do have written stipulations here. They are labeled stipulations 1 through 9. Both myself and Mr. Berry have signed the stipulation.
Okay.
There are some state's exhibit numbers that are blank right now because we have not renumbered all of the evidence in this case. So we can go ahead and provide this to Your Honor. We don't need to read any of them into the record at this
Okay.
time, and we will update those missing numbers as we progress.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Berry, you have an opportunity. This is the,
We looked at those,
okay.
several others we had to work on.
okay,
What we'll do is, once we got the exhibit numbers on, we'll those.
okay, thank you. Right, state ready to proceed?
We are, Your Honor.
Right. Defense ready to proceed? Okay, state, we're now ready for the opening statements. You may proceed.
Come on, dude, really?
September 5th, 2021. A momentous day in this young couple's life. They did something on this day that most young relationships can't do these days. Justin and Amber Hicks bought their dream home. And on this day, they moved into that home at 5059 Robina Drive here in Cobb County. They bought this home just days after their son Jacob's birthday. But 73 days later, 73 short days in their achievement of this home, on November the 18th, 2021, a family's worst nightmare came true.
I want to confirm that you guys have called them on their phones and they didn't answer.
We tried calling multiple times now. My brother's phone rings a few times if we're going to voicemail. My sister-in-law's phone immediately goes to voicemail. According to my mother, they've been off social media for about 12 hours now.
Okay.
The morning of November 18th shattered this family. November 18th, not only was this family shattered, but so was the back window of that house. And that is what they found. But we got to go back just a couple hours. November the 17th, 2021. On this day, it was a day just like every single other day for Justin, Amber, and Jacob. They had come home that night like any other day. Justin and Amber got Jacob ready for bed, got him fed, cleaned up the house, and put him down for the night. In this home that they are finally moved into and enjoying, Jacob and Amber are cuddling up on the couch. Jacob is upstairs sleeping in his bed. Amber watching the baby monitor to her side. They sat on this couch to watch TV and enjoy the night. But what the Hicks didn't know is that on this night, there was someone lurking on the outside of their home. They had just recently put up this Christmas tree. This Christmas tree was right next to the living room, connected. What they didn't know was that there was someone outside looking at this Christmas tree. And around 10 p.m. that night, this family's worst nightmare came true. Around 10 p.m., the back window of their home was broken into. The Hicks were unaware. They were defenseless. They were executed. All while Jacob was asleep upstairs. This is the state of Georgia versus Matthew Lanz. Now, you've read out the charges right before I started opening, but I do find that it's important to go through those charges as we put up evidence through this case during this week so that you know what to look for. Now, count one in the indictment is malice murder. This is did unlawfully with malice aforethought cause the death of Timothy Hicks, a human being, by shooting Timothy Hicks with a firearm. Now, just for the court, Timothy Hicks is the legal name of Justin Hicks. It's Timothy Justin Hicks. He just went by Justin, but that is his legal name. Count two, Malice murder, did unlawfully with malice aforethought, caused the death of Amber Hicks, a human being, by shooting Amber Hicks with a firearm. Count 3, felony murder, while in the commission of a felony, to wit, home invasion, as set forth in count 7 of this indictment, did cause the death of Timothy Hicks, a human being, irrespective of malice. Count 4, while in the commission of a felony, to wit, home invasion, as set forth in the count 7 of this indictment, did cause the death of Amber Hicks, a human being, irrespective of malice. Now, this is count 7, which those 2 prior counts are predicated upon, which is this home invasion, did unlawfully without authority and with the intent to commit forcible felonies therein, to wit, murder and aggravated assault, while in possession of a firearm, to wit, a handgun, a deadly weapon, enter the dwelling house of another, to wit, the Hicks residence located at 5059 Verbena Drive, Northwest, Ackworth, Georgia, while it was occupied by Timothy Hicks, Amber Hicks, and Jacob Hicks, persons with authority to be present therein. Now, jumping back to count 5, this is another felony murder count. While in commission of a felony, to wit, aggravated assault, as set forth.
They charged him with murder like 4 different
Caused
ways.
the death of Timothy Hicks, a human being, irrespective of malice.
I mean, rightfully so, but I'm just saying they charged him 4 different ways.
Aggravated assault did make an assault upon the person of Timothy Hicks with a firearm, a deadly weapon, to wit, a handgun. Count 6, felony murder. While in commission of a felony, to wit, aggravated assault, as set forth in count 9 of this indictment, did cause the death of Amber Hicks, a human being, irrespective of malice. And the predicated count of count 9, aggravated assault, did make an assault upon the person of Amber Hicks with a firearm, a deadly weapon, to wit, a handgun. Count 10, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, did unlawfully have on and within arm's reach of his person a firearm, to wit, a handgun, during the commission of murder, home invasion, and aggravated assault, felony crimes involving the person of Timothy Hicks. Count 11, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, did unlawfully have on and within arm's reach of his
This
person
dude's a
firearm,
monster.
to wit, a handgun, during the commission of murder, home invasion, and aggravated assault.
I mean, you usually are to
Felony crimes
murder
involving
somebody, but
person
you know what I
Amber
mean.
Hicks. Count 12, cruelty to children in the 2nd degree, did with criminal negligence cause Jacob Hicks, a child under the age of 18 years old, cruel and excessive physical and mental pain by leaving Jacob Hicks' parents deceased in the home with said child, resulting in the 2-year-old child being alone and unsupervised for approximately 12 hours, during which Jacob Hicks was unable to feed himself, change his diaper, or get the attention of his parents, causing him excessive physical and mental pain. Count 13, tampering with evidence, did knowingly conceal physical evidence, to wit, shell casings, said evidence involving the prosecution of the offenses of murder, home invasion, and aggravated assault, with the intent to prevent the apprehension of and obstruct the prosecution of said accused. To wit, said accused did remove shell casings from the murder scene so as to avoid apprehension and otherwise obstruct the prosecution of himself. Now that's the counts in this indictment that we are moving forward through this trial, and those are the elements that the court is defined. But I do find that it would be helpful that we kind of put in front of the court a roadmap of who we're going to hear from, what we're going to hear about, and so forth. So I'd like to introduce you to the parties. This is the Hicks. This is Justin, Amber, and Jacob. To the left, we have Justin Hicks. As I previously stated, Justin's full legal name is Timothy Justin Hicks, but he went by Justin. Throughout this trial, we'll be referring to him as Justin. He was 31 years old at the time of his death, and he was married to Amber Hicks. He had one son, Jacob Hicks, and he was a Cherokee County firefighter. Then here on the right, we have Amber Hicks. She was 31 years old at the time of her death. She was married to Justin Hicks. She had one son, Jacob, and she was an audiology assistant. And then we have Jacob Hicks. He was 2 years old at the time of his murder. He's 6 now. He was home at the time of the murder. He was alone. Within several hours of their deceased bodies were within that home. And you're going to hear evidence that Jacob tried to cuddle with his parents as they lay deceased on that couch. You will hear and see evidence that Jacob tried to play with his parents with toys, as you will see toys on Jacob, or Justin. During that time, you will hear that Jacob had no ability to get their attention of anyone. He had no ability to get food or water or change his diaper. As I previously stated, the Hicks moved into 5059 Verbena Drive on September 5th, 2021.
That hurts.
For the court, I have a visual map. Which
I got a
the,
2 and a 3-year-old.
Location of
That hurts.
these homes is very
That's real though.
Now, the Hicks residence is located here on Menandra Way and Verbena Drive, the corner there circled in yellow. Now, the defendant, Matthew Lanz, he was 22 years old at the time of his murder. He's now 26. Throughout this trial, you will hear about his family, and you will hear interviews of several of his family members. His father is Scott Lanz. His mother is Teresa Lanz. You will hear about his older brother, Austin, and you will also hear that he is deceased. You will also hear that he has 2 additional sisters. The defendant grew up at this home at 600 Delphinium Boulevard, where he lived with his parents and all of his siblings. Now, back to the map where we've already indicated where the Hicks residence is. Here on this map, you can see the defendant's residence is right behind the Hicks residence. It's important for the court to know that the backs of these houses are actually facing each other. So if you would walk out the back door of the Hicks residence, you would be looking at the back door of the defendant's residence. You're also going to hear that the defendant was a University of Georgia student. He had an apartment up there. It was located at 435 North Church Street, apartment 4, Athens, Georgia. You are also going to hear that the defendant drives a 2008 black Lexus GS 350. Now, having that little understanding as to these parties, I'm going to go through the timeline as to the events that you are going to hear about. So we're going to go to November 17, 2021. You're going to see numerous surveillance videos throughout this trial of surrounding residents. Here at 7:09, you will see surveillance video of the last known footage of Justin, Amber, and Jacob. This is the last known footage of Amber and Justin being alive, and that's at 7:09 p.m. You're going to hear that the defendant gave an interview in this case, and you will hear that the defendant admits to driving from his Athens apartment to his 600 Delphinium home, the Lanz family home, that night. And just for a quick reminder, that is right behind the Hicks residence. Now, you're going to see some additional surveillance video footage of surrounding residents of the Lanz and Hicks residence. You are going to see that at 9:20 p.m. on November 17, 2021, the defendant drives his black Lexus towards the direction of his home. And that is towards his home. And you are going to hear during the defendant's interview that he admits to parking at his house at the 600 Delphinium residence, where he parks in the driveway, and then he admits to going into the backyard, kind of walking around, and smoking a cigarette. You will hear that the defendant admits that he never enters inside his home. He only stays outside of the 600 Delphinium house. Now, to just preface some of these surveillance videos, they are incredibly difficult to see because of how dark they are. However, you will hear from Detective Smith in this case, who is going to walk through these videos and show you where to look as to where you can see the defendant walking from to and from his residence to the Hicks residence. So between 9:31 and 9:32, it can be seen the defendant walking around the rear and side of the Hicks residence.
So was this planned, or was this just a
the defendant walk back towards
all of a sudden I'm going to go kill my neighbors? Was there a dispute at some point?
Presented to the court, we will point you to where to look. Now, between the times of 9:43 p.m. and 9:44 p.m., you will actually see the defendant again walking the property line.
I don't know what I'm looking at. He said that the detective's going to show us where to look. He must not be able to show us.
Now, at 9:55, You will actually see in this video, as soon as I press play, you'll see that a light turns on. At 9:55, you will see the exterior mounted motion sensor light connected to the Hicks residence at 9:55 p.m. Now this light is located right where that window is that I previously told the court about. Now about 15 minutes later, you will see surveillance footage of the defendant actually leaving the residence away from the Hicks residence. You will hear that the defendant then drove from his 600 Delphinium house back to his apartment in Athens. It's about an hour 45 to 2 hour drive. You will hear that the defendant admits to driving back from his family home to his apartment in Athens. You are going to hear that the defendant's phone was seized when he was taken into custody. A Cellebrite extraction was done of his phone, and it will show that between the times of 10:16 p.m. on November 17th.
Yeah, because Cellebrite's real reliable. We learned that in the Karen Reed case, didn't we?
So leading to the next morning, his phone was placed into airplane mode. So while the evidence is going to show on his way back to Athens, his phone was in airplane mode. Which leads us to November the 18th, 2021. On that morning, 9:34 a.m., that is when police received a 911 call for a welfare check, trying to get in contact with Justin and Amber. You will hear on that 911 call of a broken window on the back side of the house. And it's there that's when this investigation began. You are going to see body camera and photos of this home. And when officers arrive, this is what they find. They find this broken glass of the back window of the home. Inside, you can hear a dog, and you can hear Jacob kind of making some noise on the inside. Now, there is no response with Justin and Amber. You will watch the body camera footage as Officer Brown makes his way, as he's the first officer inside the home, he makes his way into the home where that Christmas tree is. As he looks inside, he sees little Jacob peering around the corner, hiding. Officer Brown will testify that his priority was him, Jacob. He picks up Jacob and gets him out of there. You will hear that Jacob was covered in blood, he was wet, and he had a dirty diaper. It's here in the living room. Officers find both Justin and Amber deceased here in the living room. You can see that Christmas tree just right behind them. Crime scene was able to find and locate 3 9mm casings and 2 projectiles. You will hear about more projectiles, and as you hear from the medical examiner, but on scene, that is what's found. You're going to hear that there was 5 gunshot wounds to Justin and Amber, where those gunshot wounds were the cause and manner of death for both Justin and Amber. Shortly thereafter, the 911 call and the investigation began. As investigations take hold, officers and cars are all around this location of the Verbena house, the Hicks household. Around 12 p.m., Teresa Lanz, the defendant's mother, finds out about this murder. Teresa Lanz then goes from the 600 Delphinium house up to the defendant's apartment up in Athens. You will hear that Teresa Lanz arrives to the defendant's apartment around 2:30 p.m. on November the 18th, 2021. You will hear that she found the defendant sleeping at 2:30 in the afternoon and would pound on the door and try to get his attention. When the defendant would then come to his mother at the front door, he was in possession of a firearm.
Oh, okay, this is his mother.
From Scott Lanz in an interview that shortly after Teresa Lanz got to the apartment up in Athens, he would then arrive. He also found the defendant having a firearm. You're going to hear that Teresa and Scott took that firearm from the defendant in a .40 caliber magazine. They would then leave the defendant at his apartment and drive back to the 600 Delphinium house. You are going to hear that the defendant admits that his parents came to his apartment in Athens and that they took his gun from him. Shortly after that, on November the 18th, later that night, officers are actually executing a search warrant of the Lanz household. That is where Teresa and Scott are at the house, and you will hear that Scott tells police, I took a gun from the defendant and I placed it inside of the house. It's located in a sports coat pocket upstairs in a closet. Officers would then search the house where they would find a Zev OZ 9mm pistol in the upstairs closet in a sport coat jacket. You are going to hear about a DNA examination of that Zev OZ 9mm pistol. You're going to hear from forensic biologist Ted Bill with the ATF that he conducted a DNA comparison of swabs of the pistol to that of the defendant. You are going to hear that the DNA profile of the swabs of the pistol are consistent to that of the defendant. You are also going to hear that there was a firearm examination done of this firearm. And you are going to hear from firearm tool mark examiner Vanna Kelly with the ATF, where she was sent the 3 casings that were found on scene, and then conducted test fires of the Zev OZ 9mm that was sent to her, and compared those 3 casings to the test fires that came from that Zev OZ 9mm. You are going to hear that the casings that are found on the scene were fired by this Zev OZ 9mm pistol. Now, jumping back to the timeline, November 19, 2021. You are going to hear around 9 a.m., 90 Cameron Glen Drive in Sandy Springs, Georgia. You are going to hear about a 911 call of a burglary in progress. You are going to hear that Sandy Springs police officers arrive to that residence and they find the defendant inside the home, upstairs in this home. You are going to hear that the officers enter that home and command the defendant to come down from the upstairs. You are going to watch the body camera footage of this interaction with the defendant. After several minutes of commanding him to come down, the defendant would make his way down the stairs.
This dude's a lunatic.
Fully in camouflage,
No wonder his competency's been in question.
Fishing hat. You will then
You just
watch
murdered a family and then you're now in somebody else's house? Another home
one
invasion?
of the officers there. You will see and watch
What a
that the
nutbag.
defendant then stabs the Sandy Springs sergeant in the back of the neck multiple times. It is at this point that officers then shoot the defendant twice. They shoot him in the neck, in the right upper chest. You will watch the defendant be taken out of that home and into the front yard where he was subdued, he was tended to, taken to the hospital, and then into custody.
His ass
Now,
lived.
I want to talk about the 3 main pieces of evidence that you're going to hear about, and really
They should have killed him.
categories of evidence. Those 3 pieces of evidence are digital evidence, statements, and forensic evidence. What I mean by digital evidence is really the evidence that puts the timeline together. The surrounding surveillance videos of homes surrounding the Hicks and the Lanz residence that show the defendant's arrival, the departure, and then in addition to the defendant's phone extraction being placed in the airplane mode. You're also going to hear about Justin and Amber's phone extraction, which show their last known activities. Now, statements. The defendant's statements to law enforcement, Scott Lanz's statement to law enforcement, and Teresa Lanz's statements to law enforcement. And last, forensic evidence. This is the defendant's gun. You're going to hear that he is the rightful owner of that gun. He had bought that gun. You're going to hear that the defendant's DNA is on that gun. And the casings that are recovered on scene were fired from that gun. Now, some expectations as we move through this week. There's no video of the murder itself. There was no video on the living room of where this murder occurred. But with the surveillance videos and the circumstantial evidence, we were able to provide that timeline to the court. There are 2 missing casings from the crime scene, because you will hear from Dr. Ashrath that they were shot. There were 5 shots, but there are 2 missing casings. As I previously stated, the surveillance video in the front of the Hicks household is incredibly difficult to see because of the dark nature. However, Detective Smith will show and point where to look at the appropriate times. There is no perfect timeline. There never is. But we will present a timeline for the court to make the findings that we need to make. The defendant's statements during these interviews are odd at times, and you will not hear a specific motive in this case. Now, as the court knows, my duty is that the burden is on us. It's always on us. The burden of proof is always on the state to prove every criminal case as to each essential element of the crime charge beyond reasonable doubt, and that never shifts. Now, your duty this week is to listen to the evidence and ascertain the truth. What I mean by that is that I asked the court to look at the 5 C's. That's the corroboration of the evidence, consistencies and inconsistencies in the evidence, the credibility of the witnesses as they take the witness stand, and the conduct of the parties. And last, just common sense. At the end of the evidence, we will ask that you return a verdict that speaks the truth. There is only one truth in this case, and that truth is that the defendant is guilty to all counts of this indictment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ada Horowitz. Attorney Merrick, would you like to make your opening statement at this point?
It's very short.
You may proceed.
The object of all legal investigation obviously is to seek the truth. This is a very emotional case, very difficult case, as the court pointed out earlier. As the court already knows from your experience,
This dude don't give a F. I'm going to tell you that right now. Public defenders are usually 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, unless your name's Larry Tipton out of Massachusetts. But your public defense is terrible, awful, for just little petty violations, probation violations and stuff, and misdemeanors. I can't imagine having a public defender for a murder rap. I mean, come on, this dude's got like 8 murder charges. Listen to this dude. I mean, he's got dementia already, probably, you know? I mean, this is insane, dude. I'd be appealing when I was done. Ineffective assistance of counsel.
Thank you.
I mean, this dude literally just had a 3-minute opening statement for a murder rap trial. And this dude, look at this guy back here. This guy back here don't even know where he's at. He don't even got a clue what's going on. Why is he there? Why not just put him in a room with a camera, and instead of paying all these guards to sit out in the gallery? Look at 1, 2, 1 over here, 1 by the door. There's 4 or 5 cops. 5 tactical gear cops that are being paid high dollar right now. When he could be in a room somewhere just with a Zoom feed watching the court proceedings like we're doing. Because he ain't assisting at all. He don't even know where the fuck he's at.
Have a seat for me, please. And once you're seated, if you would please state and spell your true and correct legal name for the record.
My name is Timothy Johnson Hicks, and Timothy Johson, Hicks, Hicks, and I go by Tim.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
You may proceed, ADA Green.
Thank you, Your Honor. And for the record, we have shown all exhibits to defense counsel. Tim, before you took the stand, did I show you this photograph, State's Exhibit 1?
You did.
All right, and who's in that photograph?
That's Justin, Amber, and Jacob.
Is that fair and accurate in-life photograph of Justin and Amber Hicks?
It is.
At this time, I move to tender State's Exhibit 1 into
That's
evidence.
Papa Hicks. That's Grandpa of Jacob.
Is admitted.
Probably who's taking care of him now.
Yes.
Good old boy.
All right, Tim, looking here at State's Exhibit 1, you said that it was Justin and Amber. Who is Justin Hicks?
Justin Hicks is my son.
What was his legal name?
Timothy Justin Hicks.
So not exactly a junior, but close.
Close.
And did Timothy Justin Hicks go by Justin?
He did.
How old was he at the time of his death?
At the time of his death, he was 31.
What did he do for a living?
He was a firefighter for Cherokee County. Firefighter paramedic.
How long was he with Cherokee County Fire Department?
Before his death, about 6 years.
Did he wear any glasses or corrective lenses or anything?
He did. He wore glasses.
Did he wear them regularly or just at night?
Somewhat regular, but I think mostly for driving and reading and watching TV, things like that.
Who was Amber Hicks?
Amber's my daughter-in-law. She would be Justin's wife.
Did she go by Amber?
She did.
How old was she?
Amber was also 31.
What did she do for a living?
She was an audiology assistant at the time of her death.
Wonderful.